Hello and welcome to Workhorse Wrestling Network. You are gathered with us today for the most chaotic wrestling review show in the multiverse. This is All for
Not
NAWT. No.
NawT.
I totally told Dolores we would talk about working out a way to get her in there. What her part would be. We totally didn't before the show.
I
So
tried to spell
for
it
the,
with y'all. I got it for y'all. I'm getting it. I'm getting it.
for the second
Slowly
week
but
in a
surely,
row, it
ladies
was
and
a little
gentlemen, I
off,
get it.
but we'll eventually get it right.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to talk about Monday Night Raw and NXT. So let's get some little housekeeping things out of the way. Housekeeping things out of the way. Not tomorrow. We won't have any shows tomorrow. Bad us. We need a little rest. We got to go back in the stall, hang out with the little ponies. We got to have a good little time. But Saturday, we will be here for Saturday night. Is all right with AEW Collision. Okay, make sure you tune in. It's 8 o'clock my time. I think it's what 5 o'clock ALW time.
That's
So make sure you're here for that. And so we're going to talk about Raw. Raw is leading up to their matches in the next couple of weeks. Starting today will lead towards Money in the Bank, which we will be doing a Money in the Bank stream. So make sure you watch July
Money,
1st,
money. Yeah,
Money in
yeah.
the Bank.
funny.
So let's
Yeah.
talk about it. We're going to go into the Raw Roundup. So first of all, before we get in depth, how did you all like the show? Was it a good, bad, okay show? How was it?
I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was one of the better shows recently. I thought the last couple of weeks have been good, and this was a pretty decent show overall.
Okay.
I thought it was meh,
Man.
meh.
I would say it's getting better. Like the segments, like I think I mentioned on the cookout. Triple H has put out his matches. Those are the ones that are locked in and don't get changed. Those are good. The little filler matches that Vince wants to toy around with, those are the ones that need changing. So we started off with Ripley coming out getting her new title. How did you all like the new title? Essentially, it's a carbon copy of Steph's, but it's just got a white belt.
Mhm. I knew
Is
that's
it?
what they were going to do.
I mean, it looks like it in design, but it almost looks like the gold looks like the gold on the Roman and new Roman belt. Like it almost looks like that fried gold. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm mistaken. Whereas the Seth belt looked like it still has kind of that bright blingy gold. So I don't know. It looked like a combination of the Seth belt and the
My
new
thing
Roman belt.
about it was, I think, and I cannot remember her name, from True Hill Heat. She put out when they did Oscar's belt that they spoiled the surprise by putting that both belts were on sale. So you knew Rhea was getting one and the name of it and how it looked. So it's like you just spoiled your own surprise by just trying to hurry up and get somebody to buy these belts for ahead of time. So while
The the
you go ahead, Sammy.
the women's heavyweight champion.
I think what they're trying to do is put the men and the women on the same level where you can't say one is different from the other. You remember they used to have the butterfly belts. Then they had these belts that kind of look like the men's, but really wasn't. So now you can't say that one belt is different from the other. They're the same belt, except for the belt strap is different color.
And it when you were trying to do a brand, when you had an actual brand split, or at least it felt like you were trying to do some sort of brand split in the past, and you had the red belt and the blue belt, it's because they were on specific channels. Now, this belt isn't red or blue; it just is what it is, and it's just on Raw. I mean, I guess I mean I don't mind it, but it just seems like again another
I
dissolving
think
of a
that
brand split. Like
they're gonna
now
start.
there's no red and blue belt; it's just like there's belts. It is what it is, I
Yeah, I
guess.
think they're gonna start interacting with NXT, interacting with the quote unquote like floaters between. That way you don't have to necessarily, especially for the women. That whole belt title switch, that couldn't happen anymore. We can't continue to happen. So that's their way of eliminating everything. And then in the future, they just swap. And then it's easier because they noticed that when the Intercontinental Championship and the US Championship swap, there's no fuss because it's just two regular titles swapping brands. So I appreciate that. And during Rhea's celebration, Dom came out there again, celebrated like he had won the championship, which I find hilarious. And then Cody Rhodes interrupted him, which led into the first match of the night. Cody versus Miz. Again, we're gonna do like, is this a first place winner, a middle of the pack, or this is the ass back of the race?
This for me. This is towards the middle of the back of the pack. I mean, as much as I like the Miz, and Cody's a good wrestler. This match is what it was. I mean, it was definitely a filler match. I didn't think it was all that good.
There was 3 matches I liked better, which.
Yeah.
So, do we need 2 tag titles? Because I used to be of the mind that we did need one for Raw and one for SmackDown, but now I'm not so sure anymore.
Well, if
I
you're
think
not
that
gonna,
might be the next project they work on, is unifying those into one belt. And I think Grumpy KO will be the one to mention everybody get new belts but us, and then that'll be a way to introduce them getting new belts. He's the grumpy old man complaining about people in his space and on his lawn, and everybody else has gotten a new belt except for them.
if you're gonna continue to just ignore the brand split, then you might as well just have one set of tag team champions. The only reason you need multiple belts for different shows is if you're actually having a split where certain guys can only compete for certain championships. I mean, assuming that you can cross over and go wherever you want, compete for whatever you want, then it doesn't really matter. One belt makes more sense. It's easier to follow.
Yeah,
And the only guys I see being tag champions besides Sammy and KO was the Street Profits. Like, I'm struggling to think of, like, you could give it to Alpha Academy, but like, do they really need the tag titles? Because to me, it doesn't feel that way. Like, they're more story driven.
Yeah, the AEW tag or the WWE tag team division leaves a little to be desired in general. I mean, just there's not a whole lot of really solid tag teams, which has been my complaint about the Usos ranking so high on people's lists of great tag teams. Yeah, they're really good tag teams, but they haven't faced the level of competition. I mean, they haven't wrestled. I haven't seen them wrestle the Young Bucks or the Lucha Bros
yeah.
or any of those guys. They've been busy wrestling the New Day for the last 5 years, which is fine. But that's what we've been watching. I mean, that's really it. I mean, there's not a whole lot of tag team action. I mean, I like Imperium. Imperium's good. I miss RK Bro. I hope when Orton comes back,
Mhm.
we get Riddle and Orton back together again. Okay, but they're not putting the belts on Otis. Like, if you're asking me, my guess is that Vince can't fucking stand Otis. Otis is everything Vince hates about wrestlers, right? A big fat dude that's over with the crowd, that looks kind of whatever. That, you know what I'm saying? Like, in
But
my
Vince had once, because I remember SRS before, had a love for Otis because Otis makes him laugh. And generally with Vince, he's like a little kid. If you entertain him, he likes you.
so my bad. So he sees Otis more like a clown than I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in that regard, I
Mhm.
don't think they're going to actually put the belts on them. I mean, Chad Gable sure deserves the tag team title run, and but I just don't see that happening with Otis. I was a little surprised, and I know it's probably jumping the shark here a little bit, but I was a little surprised when Maxine Dupree gave an arm drag to Valhalla, and that one
Yeah,
arm
long
drag
yeah.
was enough to just render her incapacitated and able to do nothing for the rest of
It's
whatever.
like she wasn't
Not fight
incapacitated.
back or nothing. Like,
She popped up, but her tag teammate kind of like held her back, and she was just and I was like, okay. I was shocked that she could do it, but I don't know. But as we all know, Cody won. Who doubted? We knew the wasn't gonna win.
There's also the Brawling Brutes, and like, there's really not much else.
Yeah. No, the tag team division is very sparse, and that's no mystery, right? Vince hates tag teams, so I think Triple H likes them a little bit more. But again, you're never going to convince me that Triple H is really in charge when it really boils down to it. So, or at least not still taking a whole lot of Vince's idea and leadership and guidance, so direction. So,
So
yeah,
yeah, I think
I don't like tag team wrestling.
one men's tag team titles and one women's tag team titles, and then have them split between the brands.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Cody won that. And then now we're on to Becky versus Chelsea Green. Listen, I don't have nothing to say about that match. It was the back of the pack, and it started off before the match when Zoe and Becky went back and forth. First of all, Becky was stumbling. I know everybody has their hiccups, but it was like she sucked in Zoe's bad promo energy. And then Zoe got out there and they gave, and listen, I've said this, I don't care what show I've been on with you all. Zoe Starks cannot talk whatsoever. And yet I thought everybody said they put Trish with her to talk. Yet she's still talking on my TV and she can't do it. And so it's like it went from bad to worse. And after that, the match was just, I didn't even care about the match after that. I saw it and it was still bad. And so it's like it got bad, worse, and worser, and it was just over with. So anybody got
Which is
anything to say about that?
it's unfortunate because I actually like Chelsea Green.
Yeah, I agree with Sammy. It's unfortunate because both these women can really wrestle, and both these women are good. They're both stars. It's unfortunate that the match was really not very good.
Yeah, and Becky Lynch won.
And I'm not here for Zoe Starks and Becky Lynch. Like that feud does nothing.
No.
It just doesn't. It doesn't. It feels like a step down for Becky Lynch as opposed to a step up for Zoe Starks. And I'm not.
I
I'm not
just
here
don't
for it.
understand why, and I'm gonna be brutally honest, why Zoe Starks is not like I thought Trish was supposed to be the mouthpiece. But Zoe is talking all the time, even backstage. She cannot talk. It's not even live. It's not she can do live versus promo. She can't talk, period. She
Yeah.
can't convince me to buy a 25 cent piece of candy. She is bad. And so
Well,
at this point, they need to stop it.
Yeah, part of the problem is that Trish isn't going to be there every single week, right? That's just not what
Yeah.
she's going to do. So Zoe Stark's going to have to stand on her own. And to be fair, bringing in Trish to talk for someone is kind of like the blind leading the blind. Trish has never been what I would call the greatest talker either. Like, she's not terrible, but she's not great either. That's there's a lot better people out
They
there that I
should
would
have
pair with if you need
they
someone to
could
talk for
fix
Zoe.
this by making a faction and getting another person to come in and talk. That would be the best option. But the next match after that was a Money in the Bank qualifier, Damian Priest versus Matt Riddle. I would say this was towards the front of the pack for me.
Yeah.
Damian Priest ended up pulling out the win. So what do you all think about that match?
I think this might have been my match of the night.
Yeah, I'm with Sammy. It was probably my favorite match of the night. I'll have to think about it as we go down the list. But as I think about it right now, it was probably my favorite match tonight. And honestly, I was surprised. Like, I'm not disappointed at all. I'm very happy that Priest is in the Money in the Bank match. I was a little surprised just because Riddle feels like a perfect fit for ladder matches, and so I was a little surprised that he didn't make it. Whereas Damien's not quite as fluid in the ring, but he's a big, strong guy, and they love to have at least one or two of those in every ladder in the bank match or Money in the Bank match. So that's the role he'll play. And yeah, I'm excited. At least it's someone fairly new, some new blood. It feels like. So
Because you need the guy who will pick the other guy up and slam him into the ladder.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
The next match after that was Ricochet versus Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed won by DQ. I would say this would be back of the match. It would be the back of the race because it was a lot of shenanigans afterwards that I did not need. I just needed a match. You ain't got to do a 3-ring circus to get out of something. You could have just had him get disqualified by hitting him with a chair or something. You didn't have to get the 3-ring circus afterward. And then the segment after that where Ricochet wants another shot, but Shinsuke got his shot, and he's like, now you got conflicts between two baby faces. So what did you
I take it that Ricochet and Shinsuke are not going to be winning Money in the Bank.
I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
Nope. Yeah, this was middle to the back of the pack. Unfortunately, again, both guys were really good wrestlers. It's just the production of the match and the way it all played out, it just left a lot to be desired.
Okay, next match after that was Miss Back herself, Raquel Rodriguez versus the Ace of Spades, Shayna Baszler. First of all, I just want to point out Shayna won this. I just want to point out I saw the most beautifulest clip on Twitter, and next time I get it, every time Shayna comes out, I'm going to pay this clip where she says she's unbeatable in the UFC house, and she faces that lady, and that lady beats her and makes her submit, and then she cries, and I'm like, but you talking cash shit the whole week. Before every clip they came to, she can't even breathe the air I'm in, and then she got beat. Yeah, I need that to happen in WWE. They just have them talk cash stuff until they get beat. But Raquel, she can't do it by herself. She's gonna find 9,000 other tag team partners. She's already have. So to me, this is the back of the pack. Anybody else have anything towards this?
This match should have been better.
Yeah.
Given the talent that was in the match, this match should have been better.
I feel like
Yeah.
we've said that, or I feel like I'm about to say that a lot, like for the third or fourth time on this Raw episode. Like with these two wrestlers, this should have been a much better match. I mean, the production of the match and the booking of it is just not good. So yeah, I mean, middle to the back of the pack for sure.
Next match, Chad Gable versus Eric. And Chad Gable won. First of all, this match was good. I would say I would give it to like middle of the pack. It was a good match. But once they started doing again the shenanigans on the outside, it was like Maxine, and then everybody has to hold everybody back. Then it's arguing and fussing, and then it's distractions. It's like, why can't we just have a good clean match and it'd be great?
This was an entertaining match. This is the match on the card that I assumed shenanigans would be involved in. And I would honestly put it over Cody versus The Miz. I thought this was more entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that. I thought it was more entertaining. I mean, this is a perfect example. And the more that we're talking about this, the more I'm reevaluating in my head my initial assessment of this Raw, because I haven't had a whole lot to say about it. But this is a perfect example of WWE, right? They care way more about storylines than they do about the in-ring action most of the time. So, and that's why there's so many shenanigans and so much other stuff going on in all these matches, because it's all storyline driven and they don't really care about the in-ring work. So, but just from the in-ring stuff, this stuff was more exciting, I thought, than Cody and Miz.
And for our main event, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser. Listen, and Kevin and Sami won. This again was a good match. This again also was ending in shenanigans.
It sets up for Money in the Bank for Gunther's opponent. So
yeah, and it's like it's like you can't get a complete good match. They're like, oh yeah, we got to worry about the next storyline, and they just got to throw something in there. Whereas like sometimes I just want to sit down and just enjoy a good match. Then wait till the match is finished. We get a 1, 2, 3. Then do the shenanigans. Don't like cut it off in the middle for you to do this. Like it kind of reminds me of Benny Hill when he gets up and all of a sudden just start chaos and they start running around. That's what it sounds.
Yeah, no one, in my personal opinion, has been able to really achieve that fine line between storytelling and in-ring work. For me personally, I prefer in-ring work over storytelling, so I like NJPW a lot because I feel like they focus much more on the wrestling than the storytelling. But the Fed is way one way, NJP's probably way the other way, NJPW is probably way the other way, and AEW is somewhere in the middle, and they try, but they don't even do a really good job of doing both. So obviously it's much harder than I think it is, because it seems like it should be simple to be able to do decent storylines and have good wrestling, but apparently it's very difficult to do because it doesn't happen all that often.
That said, that last AEW pay-per-view, it felt like every match had shenanigans.
That is true.
Like it got to the point where it was starting to feel like WWE.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they're like they're somewhere in the middle. Sometimes they do a better job than others. They're not quite as bad as the Fed, where they only care about storylines, and they're not quite as far over as New Japan, where it's all just about most about the ring work. They try to do storylines in between, but they miss the boat a lot. I mean, they do. And to give everybody credit, I mean, it's got to be extremely difficult. When you've got what 100 wrestlers, you got to try to come up with storylines and creative for all. I mean, it's tough. Like, I mean, I play video games. I play, a wrestling video game, and I don't want to come up with creative for more than two or three guys. Like that's because it gets boring
Mm.
after a little while. It's like it is what it is. Like that's not my sweet spot. So of course that's not where what I want to do. But at the same time, it just is what it is. So, and it's hard to be original and come up with something new and try. So I get it, but yeah, I mean, and talking about it again, I guess the show wasn't quite as good as I thought. This match definitely was the best of the night, I thought, even though it had the shenanigans that it had, mostly just because of who's in it. I mean, it's hard hitting, I mean, I love KO and Gunther. I love Sammy. I love, I'm okay on Kaiser. It is what it is. I think I like Imperium. So this was the top of
My
the pack.
second favorite. Yeah, my second favorite.
Yeah, this was the front of the pack.
Okay. So now we're gonna get on to NXT notes. But
Uh,
again,
before we do, I just wanted to mention ALW. I do quite enjoy the general manager mode, not the universe mode, but the general manager mode for
Yeah,
the
I like the general
2K
manager
games.
mode. I do too. And I mess around with it a lot. It's hard to please. It's hard to beat the computer. Like it's so hard. I mean, I'm booking matches. I think I'm booking, and it's like, yeah, don't do that. I'm like, well, why not? Like that works perfect for me. But they're like, no, and I'm like, these styles are contrasting, and they're like, non-contrasting enough, I guess. So, okay, well, it is what it is. So, but yeah, no, I do like the GM mode. That's my favorite part of it, honestly.
yeah. So NXT this episode, which kind of was a little bit surprising, was setting up not weeks to come, but next 2 weeks for NXT Gold Rush. So we'll be talking about NXT Gold Rush next week and the following week after that. But right now we're talking about what happened yesterday to set up everything. So we have the first match: Wesley, Tyler Bate, and Mustafa Ali versus Schism. The winner was Wesley, Bate, and Ali, and they won by a pin. So I like them as a team, and now it's gonna be, I forgot who. I know it, Bate and Lee versus each other with Ali as the special referee. So what did you all
It
think about the match? Was it first, middle, back to back?
it feels bad that Schism can't buy a win.
Ooh, and didn't Gracie get not Gracie, I call him Gracie like Gracie Corner. Gacy get pinned in this match, or who got pinned?
I
I
don't
thought Gacy
remember.
got pinned.
Let's see. Hold on. Let me check my notes here. I got it here in my notes. Hold on. Sorry, I just couldn't find it here.
I would say this match is
Let's see.
middle towards back of the pack because it's
Yeah,
like
Tyler Driver 97 on Gacy for the win. So Gacy took the pin.
okay. So Gacy, you the leader. We have established now that you're a loser. And why do I not feel like this is the Chase U same scenario all over again?
Ouch. That's
Except
tough.
for
I mean, I like Schism. I mean, I feel like unfortunately they weren't doing great before, and then they asked for their release, and they've been doing even worse since. So, that's unfortunate. And Gacy, had that match against Wesley where I thought, this was or the three way where I thought he might actually win. A lot of people predicted him to win, and he didn't. So I don't know. I mean, and then he takes the pin here. I mean, they obviously don't care really about what happens with the Schism, I guess, and the dyad's going to go away as soon as they're free from their contracts, right? As soon as their contracts are out, they're running for higher ground, I'm sure. So I don't know, and Ava Rain doesn't really do anything for me. I mean, she just isn't, like I got to see more. Like at this point, she's just a little underwhelming just because of who she is, but at the same time, they haven't given her much. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not surprised that Bate and them won here, and I'm looking forward to Bate and Wesley. I think that's gonna be a really good
yeah,
match.
yeah. And so we had Braun Breaker come out, and then Seth Rollins agreed to a world title match against Braun next week during the NXT Gold Rush. So, what did you all think about this, and who do you think will win? Because that was one of our questions on the community tab before yesterday's match was, will Seth come and accept the challenge, which he did? And so who do you think will win next week?
So Seth Rollins is having back-to-back championship defenses next week. He's having one for Raw and he's doing one for NXT. So I guess he's taking the following week off for Money in the Bank. I don't know. He's definitely being a workhorse champion, and I got to respect that, though.
Yeah. And so I would, if I had to get this promo segment, I would say it would be the middle of the pack because Braun went a little bit too. Again, we have the Zoe Starks effect. Braun is talking a little bit too much, and he was just on and on and on. And then once Seth came on the screen, it kind of got Seth kind of talked his way into the match because at first Braun was talking. I was like, I don't want to see this. I don't want to hear you. I just want to cut my TV off. But
Yeah, he was looking extra orange, Braun. Hold on, sorry.
that wasn't even that wasn't even a fake black tan. That was just orange. like Braun will look black, Puerto Rican, and orange. I don't know how you get those scales of tan when you mess it up. Your girlfriend seems to get the medium, like light, like mixed black tan, but you go too far sometimes.
Yeah, I mean,
bronze. I'd call it bronze.
That's past, bro. That's on your former president kind of level. That was dog orange.
I think with as soon as they're doing this after Seth has won this title is an indication that Braun's probably losing here because I don't think Seth is losing that title yet, which is weird to me because like if you're gonna move Braun up to the main roster, and maybe you're not, maybe you're gonna keep him on NXT now that you're doing all this kind of crossover stuff. But if your plan is to move him up to the main roster, you're probably not gonna do that after he gets beat by Seth Rollins. I mean, it seems like that's a weird thing to do. So I don't know. I'm not sure if he loses what that means for Braun, but I don't see
Well,
Seth losing here.
wouldn't Elia be an option? Talking later on, but wouldn't Elia be an option for Braun? Because it seemed like they still are beefing.
Yeah, and that I wouldn't mind seeing. I just mean, Braun was like, I'm done. I've done all I can do here, lost the belt kind of thing. And now
Yeah.
he's just going to stay and do whatever. I mean, I don't know. It seems kind of weird. So I keep expecting Braun to go to the main roster, but if he loses to Seth next week on NXT, I'm not sure. And I can't imagine he's losing. Seth is
Was
losing.
it Braun that lost the solo during his championship reign? Who was that lost the
I don't
solo?
remember. I don't remember.
They're
Sammy,
like
you remember?
solo got called up. He won. He had to come back and give the championship up. And it's like, I'll see you again. So maybe if he does go up, that could be a feud he has. But
Yeah,
the
I mean,
next match,
It wouldn't have been Braun. It might have been Mello, but it wouldn't have been Braun.
yeah, I
no,
don't
was
remember.
it Mello? Was Mello? No, Mello wasn't champion then, was he?
North American is what I was thinking.
Probably so.
This was middle to the back of the pack. Braun can't really talk, and I'm not a huge fan of this iteration of Seth Rollins. He's a good talker. I just don't care for this whole like hyena, jackally, laughy, kind of all over the place Rollins. I just don't care for it. That's just not. It's just not the style of promo I like.
It doesn't matter if we like it. The fans like it, and they're going crazy for him, and he's more over now than he's ever been. And
yeah.
You mean the 10 fans in the same arena they go every week that they get free tickets to? Yeah, they love it.
I mean, Finn Balor couldn't talk.
Yeah, Finn couldn't talk because of the song.
Finn couldn't talk on on the thing. I thought you talked about Braun. I'm like, no.
Here's my question.
Seth Rollins.
Was Seth? Was Seth and Finn in the ring supposed to be like their version of MJF and Adam Cole? Because if it was, it really fell short. Like, I don't want to compare
No,
companies at all. I don't want to compare companies at all. That's not what I'm just asking. Like, does
no,
WWE see that and then say, okay, we gotta, you know what I'm saying? Because there's no way that Seth and whatchamacallit are a match for Adam Cole and MJF as far as promo battles.
no. I think they had to have that feud because of what Seth said. Because Seth injured him uh, during the match, he had to give up his championship.
Yeah,
So
no,
when
I
Seth
just meant
was
this
like,
particular like in-ring segment at this time where they're facing off, talking shit to each other. I mean, they do that a lot, but it just seemed like I don't
yeah,
know, like this was almost their answer to MJF and Adam Cole, and I was like, that
oh
doesn't work.
no, I just think that that's their style because they do it so often and they've done
Yeah,
it so many times over the years. That it's like I think that it's their version of like two boxers facing each other.
yeah.
So, cause you ever notice like shortly after graphics come out and it's just that picture of them just
Oh yeah,
standing there like, yeah,
yeah.
I think there's a lot of promise and potential with it, though, because for Finn's aspect towards it, it's more of a grudge match than it is a championship match.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
The
dig
next
that.
match shocked me on NXT because of the winner. Uh, Cora Jade versus Scrappy Doo in your hell. And Scrappy Doo won with a submission. Scrappy Doo submitted Cora Jade. And I was like on the sitting at the computer getting ready for the cookout. And I was like, oh my God, no, that they didn't. They just let like Scrappy Doo come
I like her better than Cora Jade, so I'm okay with it. Ultimately, um, obviously they see something in her because they're pushing her right now. I mean, she's won a couple big matches back to back, and she's getting a lot of, like I said, a lot of push. So I'm not sure I
Uh,
see it, but I like her better than Cora Jade.
Sky Blue's got a championship match, so looks like she's got another one over on her NXT twin.
out. So next match after that was kind of weird. And if anybody knows, me and ALW, we do like little predictions. I was shocked because the Heritage Cup was on the line, and Oral Mensa wrestled on the behalf of Noam Dar, which I've never seen this before. And versus Nathan Frazier, and Nathan Frazier won 2-1. So he's now the Heritage Cup winner. I was like, where do we do subs at? Where do we do that at? And is there going to be a loophole where he can come back and say, well, you really didn't beat me, so now you got to fight me?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it'll be a loophole, but that's what he's gonna say. And I mean, I don't, like Mensa and Dar were having issues, and then all of a sudden they were in a group, and now Mensa's fucked up and lost Dar's cup, and Dar's gonna be fucking pissed, I'm sure. So I mean, this is
A,
gonna be some sort of interaction between the two of them that's not gonna be good. You know what I mean? So I don't know if
a
it's gonna be
cup
the
that Dar has held since the beginning.
yeah, I don't know if this is going to be the breakup of this little whatever group it is, but that's what it seems like it's leading to me. Which seems weird because you only put it together like 3 weeks ago, and for what? Like, what? I mean, they didn't.
You
So
had two
it's
men
weird.
who did not
It's
like
weird.
each other,
I'm not
and
good.
two women who they tried to hit on and did not work,
Yeah,
all team up together. It seemed like that didn't work together.
I have no problem with Nathan Frazier being the Heritage Cup champion or whatever you want to call it. I think it's. I mean, he needs to beat Noam Dar to make it official, in my opinion. But I mean, Noam Dar's held it for a long time. So if he actually beats Noam Dar for it when Dar's available to wrestle on his own behalf again, then that's fine. If Frazier, I mean, if he beats him when he defends it against him, then that's fine. I mean, I don't. But this was weird. The whole thing was weird.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's quite ass, but it was middle of the pack for me.
Yeah, I mean, the wrestling made it good enough that it's not the back end of the horse, but it's
Yeah,
definitely middle to back end for sure.
you can tell who the parent is because ALW said the back end of the horse. I was like ass. Okay.
Speaking of the back end of the horse,
Axiom and Scripps versus Dabakato. And Axiom and Scripps won this by a pin. They pinned this man. Listen, first of all, Scripps, Reggie, I'm not gonna call you Scripps no more. You just Reggie. You just Reggie. You were Reggie when you had the mask on. You were Reggie without the mask. And then you look at me. I'm glad I'm free to be who I am. But you still call yourself Scripps. You are Reggie. Reggie accepted. You are Reggie. I don't care how many. They should have gave you a better mask, my brother. But Reggie, I'm surprised you and Axiom won. And I want to say for everybody who doesn't acknowledge, Axiom is a Marvel hero. He comes out there every day with the flashing and the twitching and the shaking and the jumping. He's a Marvel hero. He is Batman and Scripps is Robin.
Yeah, I mean, this is terrible. I don't. What are we doing? Like, I don't.
It
I mean, you need some filler in the middle of a 2-hour show, but this is bad. Like, I mean, this is really bad. It's even bad filler. Like, I don't know.
it
I don't
was
have
the
anything to say about this. This is very back of the horse for me. This is the horse's ass.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But listen, it gets worse. It gets worse. We had different segments. First of all, live Valkyria got a vignette. Dijak taunted Von Wagner about him going to therapy. And Electra Lopez and Lola Vice decided we're gonna team up together. Not to mention, what's her name? Gigi was mad that she got thrown out by the accountant. And so she's taking it personal now. These segments throughout the night were human trash. Wasting my time.
Yeah, I would say not a one of those segments is really good. And the idea that Dijak is harassing Von Wagner about going to therapy, I thought we were well beyond that, like teasing people about taking care of mental health issues, like and not to
I
mention like Dijak just had a wonderful match and should have another match with Ilya, but he's in the Von Wagner black hole. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, I don't want to see Von Wagner and Dijak. Like,
My favorite part was at the end when they had the soap opera ending to that segment when Von Wagner turns to his manager and says, he's like, I'll pay anything for you to talk about it. He was like, I don't want to talk about it with anyone. I want to talk about it with you. And I was like, we've been doing this for like 3, 4 weeks. You couldn't have gotten there like 2 weeks ago that you wanted to talk to him about it. He's been trying to talk to you about it. This is a waste of time. And then they went into
uh,
another trash ass match after that. Malik Blade versus the
that was a whole situation though with Bray Wyatt with the whole mental health stuff, and like for some reason with WWE, like mental health issues aren't seen as being real issues, and that's a problem.
listen. They take your and I've said this even about listen, I'm gonna go into what Romeo said. Romeo, you know you were wrong, but I have laughed every moment because I can imagine it in my head. That Roxanne should have climbed that ladder and fainted off the top. Days been stuck in my head. But Roxanne had came out years ago that she had anxiety. They take your real life personal issues and turn them into storylines. Bray Wyatt's whole like schizophrenic, I'm all these different kind of persons. That's his real life issue. They have turned these things into issues. Jeff Hardy and his drinking, all of these things. If they find out what's wrong with you, they use it as a storyline, which is totally wrong. And so I can't get over it. And we went 4 weeks for this man, which he's gonna probably talk about a real life personal event that happened to him and his little brother, and to tell his manager that he wants to speak to him. Like you've been through therapy, you've had different segments, and you took a month to tell me I want to talk to you. Like that was just a waste of time. And this was even worse. Malik Blade versus Enofe, and Malik Blade won for Enofe to get up after he done got his ass kicked and say, I know your birthday finally. And then they hugged. And then we had to find out from Booker T that there's a tag team turmoil this week with all the people who tried to get them to be friends again, them as a tag team against what's his name? Alberto what's his name? I
Carrillo,
can't forget.
yeah, Humberto Carrillo.
Carrillo.
Yep.
and
And
his tag team that came from the main roster.
yeah.
Los Humbertos Garzas.
Los Humbertos Garzas. That's right. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand what we're doing with Inoue and Blade, but I thought it was an okay match. The actual wrestling was okay, but the whole storyline is bizarre. I mean, I'm
You
not
gotta
sure what's
fight each
going
other to be
on.
friends.
Yeah, I guess the whole thing is weird. This again was middle to kind of back of the pack, which is unfortunate because I think both these guys' future is bright, and I like watching them wrestle. I'm not sure what's going on with them.
We kept
Isn't
go ahead, Sammy.
isn't it weird for two cousins to have the same name?
A
Like
little bit.
I don't get that. Like you would have thought that like somebody would have been like, ah, nah, cousin's name that. We should name him something else. Nope, nope. Same name, same name.
Because they both like the same person in the family and they name their kids after it.
Yeah.
And the
But
fact that they both
you
became
could
wrestlers and they're
change it.
both in WWE.
Yeah. You could at least change like the spelling or something of one or gave a nickname, but they were like, no, we're gonna keep it like it is. We kept tipping down the hill. It wasn't as fast as it was before. When we got to Roxanne Perez versus Tatum Paxley, and Roxanne won, and her after speech was, you know what? You think you're scaring me, but you're not. I'm not scared of you, bitch. And that was it. I was like, and then you got Booker T on the microphone talking about, I've never seen her like this before. She has a fire in her. And I'm like, really? This what you, just because you said the word bitch, you think that made her really intimidated and she gonna kick ass after that? That's a waste of time.
I'm a big Roxanne Perez fan, but this wasn't good. Like she wrestled down to Tatum Paxley's level. The wrestling wasn't good, and then her promo afterwards in the ring, I didn't think came across very good either. This was one of the worst things I've seen Roxanne Perez do, unfortunately. And
Roxanne
just
Perez
a
is
little bit of
obviously
insight on Smart Psychology podcast, they did a draft where they had a wheel that determined who you got. Like you didn't get to take your pick. The wheel determined who you got, and we got Tatum Paxley. The chat got Tatum Paxley as our very first pick. So I'm already bitter every time I see her, just because I remember that. I'm still traumatized from that. So
yeah, we need to
yeah,
do a
this
wheel.
match is definitely the ass of this show for sure. Unfortunately, which is saying a lot because I really like Roxanne Perez, but this was bad.
I wouldn't give it the essence of the show because of the Cato Scripps match.
Oh, yes, you're right. Yeah, Cato and Scripps. Yeah, this is a little better than that. That's correct.
But we had a good match with a wonky WWE finish at the end. Ilya Dragunov versus Baron Corbin. And ladies and gentlemen, I know you're surprised as I am too. Baron Corbin won. He pinned Ilya Dragunov.
Yeah, I was saying
I,
to Sammy earlier that this was my least favorite Dragonoff match to date. And as much as I'm a Baron Corbin fan, I'm starting to reassess that because Ilya only has good matches, and this was a bad match, and Baron Corbin was in it. And Baron Corbin's had some bad matches recently, so I'm not sure. It's like I was saying to Sammy before the show started, or I think yeah, whatever. It feels like because Baron Corbin has been given the shit for so long and probably restricted on what he can do in the ring, he has to look bad, has to make other guys look good. It's almost like he's forgotten how to have a really good match. And yeah, I mean it's unfortunate. This match was very underwhelming for me, and I love Ilya. And for him to take the pin in an underwhelming match, I was disappointed.
yeah, I would say getting everybody because we didn't do it for this one yet. NXT uh, overall was the back of the pack this week because it went from like good first match, all the Seth Rollins thing we were tipping here, and then it just whoosh, just went down and just went to hell. I don't down. It's the back of the pack. I can't even give it medal because it was only one good thing. It wasn't even no good promos. It was just crazy and unexpected. And then all of a sudden at the end they were like, next week for Gold Rush. And I was like, what? Go what? Like, couldn't we get this like 2 or 3 weeks ago? Like, build up to it. Like, you all was just like next 2 weeks we're gonna have Gold Rush.
Yeah, I mean the only two, I think even important the only watchable match on this show was the first match, the 6 man, And the only important segment was the Seth Rollins Braun Breaker segment. Other than that, the show was very,
Mm.
very missable this week. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and then next, you know what? I'm gonna get a graphic with a swirly poop on the front of it. Just flush it out. Flush it. Just flush it down.
Just
Just
watch that
flush
episode.
it down.
That's terrible.
Give me Dragunov versus Tyler Bate.
Yeah, that I'm here for. Bring guys down that I'm interested in seeing. Like, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I'm a Baron Corbin fan, but I'd much rather see like Pete Dunne back in NXT or some of these other guys that don't get maybe as much regular TV time. Baron Corbin gets a lot of TV time no matter where he is. WWE fucking loves him. Like, no matter where he goes, he's on TV. He's always got a segment on some show every week. Whether it's, even though they're all bad, or they have been for a long time, give me some of the other guys that I want to see compete more on NXT as the NXT guys. I like Ali being there. That I'm there for. I'm there for Ali. I don't need
Mm-hmm.
Dana Brooke there. Give me at least another woman that I think is an impactful woman that's going to come down from the roster. You know what I mean? I don't. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have covered Raw and NXT. We're gonna do a little housework, a little sweeping up again. We swept up in the beginning. We got to clean up this mess, especially the shit we had on NXT. We got to clean it on up this week. Ooh, let me cut the banner off. Let me cut the banner off for you so you can see everything. Today, all for naught. You're here with us at 8 o'clock. Friday, tomorrow, no Friday night fights. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. 'Cause it's my birthday. I don't want to be here.
Actually, tomorrow's
Saturday.
Thursday. Tomorrow's actually Thursday, but
Thursday? Yeah, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
it's all right. It's all good.
Thursday.
She's
But
trying to get you a birthday faster.
Yeah, I really am. Thursday, check the community tabs. We ask questions for the upcoming things, even though we're not doing watch alongs, so we can get you all's opinions, so we can interact. Make sure you're doing that. Friday, we won't be here. Okay. Saturday, ALW, CM, they will be under the radar. That will be posted at 11 a.m., 8 a.m. ALW time. Saturday night, we will be here. Not all of us, some of us will be here for Saturday Night Is All Right at 8 p.m., where we cover Collision. See? Good explosion on you. There you go. And we'll be back next week. We will cover on our way to Money in the Bank for Raw. And NXT, we will be covering the first week of NXT Gold Rush. So make sure you're here. ALW, Slamming Sammy Joe, and myself, Dolores, and Kitty Joe, because he always gonna make an appearance. He always gonna make himself known. Make sure you come for NAWT. Okay? All for now. Okay?
All for that.
And I'll see you then. See you next week. Peace.